Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Houston, Texas. My name is Robin Williams, and I am your favorite mayoral candidate, soon to be the next mayor of Houston, Texas in 2024. Our election is November 7th, 2023. So, the topic at hand today is the rent crisis. Oh, if you live in Houston, you know the rent has surpassed. I feel like it's almost up there with Chicago and New York almost. So I'll give you a little backstory. I moved to Houston, Texas, December 14th, 2014. So I moved to Houston December 14th, 2014. In my very first apartment, I cannot forget this address. 300 Cyberonics Boulevard, right by NASA and Clear Lake. It's considered Houston. Some parts of it is considered Houston. And my rent was, I remember my rent being $724. And it was supposed to be a very elite neighborhood. I'm right behind the University of Clear Lake. And I had just came from California. And I believe my rent in California in 29 Palms was maybe $500 or $550. So I came to Texas. It was in a more elitist neighborhood. 29 Palms is a Marine Corps Navy base. It's really a Marine Corps base, but Navy personnel is there. So I came to Texas. I'm like, okay, I had a change in rent, but the area was so beautiful. It was greenery everywhere. You got to see deer, all kind of wildlife, and the neighborhood was just this influential neighborhood. Fast forward, I believe the next place I moved to was Seabrook, and I lived on NASA on the Bay, and the rent was maybe I want to say 1,200 because it was a two-bedroom apartment with washer and dryer, two full baths, right on the water, right. It was beautiful. So that was kind of understandable, and that was still very affordable in that area during that time. So my next place I moved into Houston, I would say the Southwest area, and I lived at the River Rain Apartments in a one bedroom. Drum roll, please. Was $600 or maybe $650 at the most. That was right before I purchased my home in 2018. So I purchased my home, and I live on the south side near Pearland. So I live very close to Pearland. Maybe you go out of my neighborhood, one street over is Pearland. So my mortgage at the time was $1,300 for a four-bedroom, three-bath home with a game room, washer and dryer room upstairs, and a two-car garage. Fast forward now to 2023, a home right across the street from me was for rent for $2,100. $2,100. And me being the nosy neighbor, I looked up and said, well, what's going on? What is the rent for that home and other homes in the area? So that home was kind of on the lower end because other homes rented for $2,400 in my neighborhood. And um and if you want to know, well, what was the rent when you moved in? Well, in 2018, I did my homework as well because that home was for rent, and I wanted to actually purchase the home before buying my home. So the rent was listed for $1,900, between $1,800 to $1,900, and the home next door to me was for rent for $1,500. So it went up a lot. Like, wow, I just can't even imagine. So let's get into statistics. Some statistics. So 30% of Houstonians are renters, and they cannot afford their daily necessities. So that's lights, gas, water, trash, groceries, gas for their vehicles, and minute maybe hygiene items. They cannot afford it. So imagine living in an area where you can only afford to pay the rent and nothing more. That's including your car note, your car insurance. So, Tiffany, what area of town do you live in? And how much is your rent?
I live in the Ompel area. I actually do not pay rent because it is too expensive for me to pay rent. So I actually live with family. But rents around here range. You can probably get a one bedroom for like close to 1,500, maybe 1,700. Depends on amenities. So yeah, it's definitely priced out.
A one bedroom?
Yes. The lowest I've seen is maybe a grand, but it's either
Wow.
not in the best area or the amenities aren't great or it's not that much space. It may be more like a studio bedroom where everything's in one area, but yeah, it's gone up tremendously.
Wow. 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 And our city continues to grow and they continue to overlook the fact that the rent doesn't match the minimum wage. Minimum wage in Houston, Texas is $7.25. While other major cities like Chicago and Houston are battling between who's gonna take whose spot. Right now, Chicago is third largest city with Houston right on our tail. And I believe the population difference is 5.86 million people in Houston, Texas, and Chicago being right at 6 million with the population. So we're battling back and forth. In Chicago, rent is also expensive. Then you have New York, that's the second largest, with LA being the first. And New York rent is at 3,000 for an average for an apartment, and it may not be in the best area. So if the rent is 21, 24 $100 in my area, and then you have New York pricing out at 3,000, my goodness. But minimum wage in Chicago, I believe in certain areas, certain jobs are $15 an hour. Here, we're still at the prehistoric area at $7.25. Fun fact: when I worked my first job in Chicago, minimum wage was $8.75, and that was in 2007. So right now, minimum wage doesn't even match the rent. And then in Houston, they want you to make three times the rent to even qualify for an apartment, not a home, to qualify for an apartment. So if the rent's 1,000, you need to make 3,000. And so we're leading. I believe we're fifth with in the United States with the highest rate of homelessness, and we're at 3,000 plus homeless personnel. And fun fact: 1,000 people a day move to Texas. So 1,000 people a day move to Texas. So every day, 1,000 people are moving to Texas. Have you felt that, Tiffany, being that you are a native Houstonian?
Yes, traffic has definitely increased. I don't know if it also increasing pricing, but because we've been like a state where it's cheaper to live to most people, they were paying higher rent or like higher mortgages in different places. So when they come here, they're like, oh, this is at a discount. So we've been having an issue too where people are bidding higher for houses and it's pricing out the market, or they're like, oh, more people are moving, we can actually like increase pricing. And so it's been a lot, but traffic is the main thing where I've definitely seen a difference. um Something that typically a few years ago took you maybe 20 to 30 minutes to drive to now takes you close to an hour. So yeah, I definitely feel it as a native Houstonian.
Wow. And as a police officer, I can tell you traffic is horrendous. It has increased. So at one point in my career, I did work from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. So that's 10 hours. So I got to see the rush hour traffic for lunch, individuals, the rush hour traffic for individuals going home, and also the traffic when individuals want to go to very, I would say, areas that's considered a vibe. So that would be more so like closer to our Montrose area, our third ward and fifth ward area. And so you would see the influx of traffic in those areas. And I would tell you, traffic has surpassed the amount of traffic when I first got here in 2014. I thought traffic was bad then, and I was so nervous to drive on the freeways because it was huge. So now it's almost like bumper to bumper traffic. Are we becoming like New York? I don't know. Like that's something to think about. Their traffic is bumper to bumper. And I know as a police officer, I work tons of accidents from stop and go traffic. People get distracted, they're looking around because traffic is so clogged up. And then before you know it, the light is turning yellow and they're trying to push the gas to make it across the white line, which is called a designated point, fun fact. And they gas it and they're striking the back of someone's vehicle, causing an accident. So now police and fire are dispatched out. So now we're making traffic even worse because we have to close off a lane to properly do a accident. It could be where airbags deployed, someone is injured. We may have to call medical, or even worse, we're running someone's information and they may have a warrant for their arrest, and we have to see what are we going to do about that. Are we going to make the arrest? Is it traffic? Is it a traffic offense or is it a felony offense? Is it a TCIC, NCIC, where it's a mandatory arrest, where it's out of the hands of the police, where it may be a highly classified Class A, Class B misdemeanor arrest, and we have to take them. So not only do you have to tow the vehicle, you have to get their belongings, you have to do the crash report, and you have to do the arrest report, and you have to take them to either Harris County or Fort Bend County Jail. So that's a lot to think about when we're talking about traffic. And then we have individuals that's not used to traffic in Houston, and we've had people go the wrong way, and it's by accident, and it's a catastrophic accident where it's a hit-on-head collision. I've seen things like that happen, or they've gone the wrong way, and maybe they did the wrong traffic maneuver. So that's a lot to think about. But I remember everyone saying River Oaks is the most expensive place to live in. I feel like all of Houston has caught up to the rent of River Oaks because now it's common to pay 1,800 for a one bedroom, and that may not include silver or silver amenities, or you might have a white refrigerator and a white sink and outdated amenities like everything, the washer and dryer, the garbage disposal, the refrigerator, the stove is all white, and you're paying $1,800 and you don't get those high end appliances. So that's very common. So $1,800 doesn't mean that you're going to be in a land of luxury. You may be at the basic package for that apartment complex. And you may not even have an assigned parking or covered garage or what is it called? They call it in Houston a carport, a covered carport. And for those that don't know what a carport is, it's like this covering. It covers. It has a metal top. It's covering, and the posts are wood, and it stops. your vehicle from rain, from the elements, and things of that nature. But back to rent. So now everyone wants to live in near Third Ward and Fifth Ward, but there's also a cancer scare and a cancer crisis. You'll live in those areas, and individuals are being affected by cancer. Have you heard about that on the news, Tiffany?
No, I actually haven't heard too much in regards to that, actually. Can you expound upon that more?
So in Third Ward, Fifth Ward, those areas, so from illegal dumping, and also the Union Pacific train is creating and emitting fuels that cause cancer. And it's so many people that live in that area that have had breast cancer, different variations of cancers. And it's like we're sweeping that under the rug. So not only are you dealing with a rent crisis, it's a cancer scare and a cancer crisis that's going on. One individual that was on the news, a mother, she lost her son to cancer and she battled cancer. And then we have also individuals that's into the arts and culture that want to live out their dreams of being in the arts and culture community, whether whether they are poets, singers, rappers, dancers, painters, artists. They can't afford to really tap into their talent because it's talent over rent. Well, if I buy the two that I need for my talent, am I going to have enough to cover my rent? So that's realistic. And I find myself as a person that owns a home in Houston, Texas. My taxes shot up and my rent, correction, the taxes shot up and my mortgage went from 1,300 to 1,580 from 2018 to 2023. I just put in a homestead exemption. And that's a big controversy in Texas now. They're fighting over that so that homeowners can have some type of relief, some kind of relief from their taxes going up. My fear is that if we don't bring minimum wage up, and not only minimum wage, there are jobs for Harris County. If you go on their website and they're requiring you to have a bachelor's degree, and they're starting to pay at $19 and $20 an hour. What? That's not enough. So we're in a humongous crisis. The red lights are going off everywhere, and people don't speak up enough about the housing crisis that we're facing. We have tons of abandoned buildings that can be turned into low income housing so that Houstonians can live. Have you seen vacant buildings that have been untouched, Tiffany?
Yes, I've definitely seen more of vacant buildings too that haven't been touched since Harvey as well. That really wiped us out, and a lot of people didn't recover or still trying to recover. So yes.
So you have these vacant buildings. Like, what do we do with them? We're talking about building new buildings, but we already have buildings here. We can turn into another animal shelter. Animals and dogs and cats have a housing crisis too. You have humans with a housing crisis, and we have these vacant buildings from Harvey that all you need is some TLC, someone coming in to restructure the buildings, add the drywall, add the necessities to make it livable, and it will probably cut down on the price of building a brand new apartment complex where the rent is probably going to start at 1,500. We have charity starts at home. We have to start with what we have at hand, because what we're going to do is build up these beautiful, expensive apartments where native Houstonians and transplants, because I'm a transplant, but I'm very proud to call myself a Houstonian. I'm a Houstonian that will not be able to afford to live there. So you have these buildings that you're going to build up, but you're going to leave the eyesores there. You go to a nice restaurant and you can look across the street and it's an abandoned building owned by the city that's boarded up. That's a problem. Again, let's go back to the homelessness problem. There are 3,000 plus homeless personnel. I believe renters are going to find themselves where they're doing co-living, where you get a home, you rent it out, and each room has its own rent. You may have a 4 bedroom home and you rent each room out for $500 or $600 just to make it. I believe that's going to be common. And as a police officer, I've seen the squatting issue become more and more of a problem for renters and homeowners. So you may go out of town for a week or two. Someone sneaks into your home and they're refusing to leave because they have established a residency there where mail goes to the home. If mail is there, that person that illegally entered the home has now a right and a claim to your home. Also, individuals that's doing the Airbnb, you rent your home out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or individuals that's renting their home and placing it on Airbnb, and you're placing it there, and this individual no longer wants to leave because, hey, I've established residency here and I get mail here and I'm going to squat as long as the law allows me. And that can be from 6 months to a year. So individuals that would normally not squat are becoming squatters and living in these homes that's been on the market that can't rent right away, and they're breaking into these homes and they're becoming squatters, and squatters have rights instead of the law charging them with burglary of a habitation or telling them to leave. They're like, well, they're showing me a piece of mail and they have the right to live here. Or a lot of people are getting duped out of their homes that they think they have the right to rent. So as a police officer, I've seen this so many times where individuals believe they're signing a legitimate lease from Zillow, and this person pretends to be a realtor, and all you have to do is ask for the code. You show them the home. You ask for the code. It's a little lock box on the door. You ask for the code. Yeah, you put the code in there. The key comes out the bottom most times, or you ask for the code. You put the code. You put the code in, and you go and you show these people these homes, and they believe that this is their dream home at an affordable price. The home that is usually listed for 2,400 is renting $4,000, and this person lives in this home. Next thing you know, the police has been called, and they're like, I just rented this home 3 or 4 days ago. And now police officers are telling them, well, you have to leave. You don't have any proof that you have a lease, and they show us this lease and it's fake. And because they don't have mail coming to their home, they have to leave. And now they're homeless. I've seen that hundreds of times, and especially during Harvey and COVID. During COVID, a lot of schemes happen to good people. And if the next mayor, which is me, if I don't address it, we're going to have a bigger homeless population. We will be competing with LA with the homeless population. We have to fix the housing crisis. But I don't become mayor until 2024, January, when I take my right hand and swear my oath to the people that I will serve them and protect them. So, what do we do? We have 6 months of a crisis that's been ignored. So, what do you think is going to happen in those 6 months, Tiffany?
I'm honestly not too sure. I mean, it's been crazy so far, so I'm not sure. What do you think is gonna happen?
I feel like the 6 months until I take office, that all of these crises are going to be swept under a rug and it's going to be hidden. But one thing I promise my residents is that I would operate in transparency. We're going to, before we take office, we're going to be very transparent. I want to know the true budget. I know our budget states that we are $6.6 billion with 63% of it going to public service, which is safety. I know we have a budget. I know we see it, but I want to an audit done so we can know what money we have, what's going on, what is going on. We're a major city with only $4 million in a reserve. Yeah, so $4 million is in our reserve. That's scary. Missouri City has $31 million in its reserve, and it's a smaller city than Houston. It's our neighboring city. I need for it to be transparent before I take office so that the residents know how hard I have to work and how hard I will work to get us afloat. I believe that we can be as big as Chicago, New York, and LA. Heck, we have 1,000 people a day moving to Texas. It's almost like, they say America's streets are paved with gold. That's what a lot of immigrants hear. They hear that this is the land of opportunity. For a lot of individuals moving to Texas and to Houston, they believe that Houston is a land of opportunity, but it's really a facade because our minimum wage is $7.25. Our mortgage, our rent is extremely high. We have a very high competitive market for housing. Right now, you have older homes that cost just as much as new homes, and we can't even get on the vehicle crisis. We have old used vehicles costing just as much as new vehicles, if not more. Wow, wow. This is so surreal for individuals that are even getting out of college, that's trying to start their career. Will they even be able to move out of their parents' home, out of a family member's home to start their dream life? Hey, I have this college degree, but I can't afford rent. I can't afford health care. And if I do rent, I can't afford the basic necessities. Again, allow me to reiterate this. 30% of all Houstonians that rent cannot afford the basic necessities. That is gas, food, water, health benefits, clothing. That's scary. Again, my name is Robin Williams, and I am your favorite mayoral candidate, soon to be your favorite mayor of Houston, Texas. And this is Real Talk with Robin Williams. Please check out all of my social media platforms: Instagram, official, Robin.Williams, and also Facebook, Robin Williams for Mayor, and Robin Williams. And my TikTok is Robin Williams for Mayor. And YouTube is Robin Williams for Mayor. And I believe my Twitter is Robin Williams for Mayor. Thank you. Enjoy yourself, Houston.